5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, Medicare Podcast Nation. Today is January 21st, but more importantly, today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Happy MLK Day to everybody that's listening, wherever you may be and however you may be listening, whatever platform or website you might be hearing this on. I hope this message finds you doing well and having a terrific holiday. If you live in a place anywhere like I do here in Utah, then it is snowing. It is snowing harder than I have seen it snow in some time here in Utah. It's just coming down, down, down. So if that's the case, I hope you're staying warm indoors and most importantly, staying safe and not sliding on roads or getting in any accidents. That's the last thing that we need. Folks, today I wanted to talk about, with it still being so fresh into the new year with 2019, I wanted to talk about issues that I have already seen when it comes to starting a new plan. And also, maybe you have a plan that you've had for some time, but it's gone through some changes that you weren't aware of coming into the new year, and what I've seen with my own clients and what you can do to avoid them. First and foremost, there's a lot of things that get mistaken this time of the year, primarily if you've changed plans. I don't see these issues happen as much if you've kept the same plan and have been on it for some time. However, it can happen, and we'll jump into that in a second, but I want to start out with people that have changed plans. Let's say you're on a Medicare Advantage plan. I have probably gotten, I don't know how many phone calls this month from people saying that they went to go get their prescription filled with their new Medicare Advantage plan if they changed from one to another, or maybe they're a new customer with us, and let's just put it bluntly, the plan isn't paying anything, it won't pay, it's being rejected, it's being denied, or the costs are just tremendously higher than what they were expecting. Why is this? Why is this happening? Well, it could be a number of different things. And if you ran into this, you might have already gotten it figured out and you know the reason, or you might still be struggling with it. And so keep this in mind, what I'm saying, as a possible possibility to why you're having the struggles that you're having. The first possibility is your plan has a deductible. That's the most common one I see. A lot of plans in the Medicare world have deductibles. Most commonly, the deductible will apply to anything that's a tier 3 or higher. If you've followed me for some time, you know what a tier is, but for those of you who might be a new listener, tiers are categories that in the Medicare world, prescriptions are, categorized into to determine how expensive they are and what type of drug they are. Now, the tiers go most of the time 1 through 5, but there are companies here and there that kind of have their own, tier 6 and select tiers and those kind of things, but those are more rare. Most of the time, 99% of the time, you're going to be looking at tiers 1 through 5 on your medication plan. Most of the time, if there's a deductible, the deductible will apply to tiers 3 or above, although there are some plans where the deductible applies to all tiers. However, let's say you have a prescription that was a tier 2 and the deductible didn't apply to you on that prescription in 2018. Let's say you got on this new plan and the prescription with that company is a tier 3, because remember, it's based on the interpretation of the insurance company, folks. It's not necessarily going to be the same tier with every single company. So let's say your plan has a $300 one time a year annual prescription drug deductible on tiers 3 and above. Well, you'd be paying full cost of that medication until you hit that deductible. So that could be one reason. But it's not always that simple. I have even seen situations, many of them actually, this year, to where there have been longtime clients that have worked with me to where we moved them from one plan to another because it was just better for them coming into 2019 due to new plans being available, or maybe their plan changed for the worse for them. And the pharmacy was still billing their old insurance. That's happened to me several times this year, and we were able to get them untangled and get it fixed, and the pharmacy ended up billing the right insurance. There were even some situations to where the pharmacy was billing the old insurance despite the customer giving them their new ID card. I don't know if they didn't enter it in the system or it got mistaken. I'm not sure all of the circumstances, folks, but it happened. And it happens more than you'd like to believe. And they're billing the old insurance. The old insurance obviously denies the claim. They won't pay anything because that person doesn't have a plan with them anymore. So you see those kind of things happen. There can be any number of things, but they always seem to happen around this time of the year because plans are starting up again. They're changing. People that changed plans or maybe got on plans for the first time or just starting them, it's January, deductibles start over. People forget they even had deductibles. Maybe their plan didn't have a deductible in the past, and now it does. Because remember, especially with Medicare Advantage plans and prescription drug plans, these programs can change. They can make adjustments. Just because it didn't have a deductible 2-3 years ago when you started the plan doesn't mean it's not going to today. And even if that's something you're not accustomed to, it's a very real reality. Stay with me into segment 2, and we're going to continue talking about these issues, these problems, and what you can do about it. Stay right there. Hello and welcome back, everybody, to the Everything Medicare Podcast. I'm your host, Christian Brindle, where every single week I bring you a podcast where I discuss your Medicare, your Medicaid, your Social Security, and everything that has to do with your retirement and the twilight years of your life for most folks. Today we're talking about issues that come with it being the new year still. Last segment we talked about people going to get their prescriptions filled when they, started a new plan, or let's say even they kept their same plan that they've had for years and it changed and they weren't aware of it or forgot about the changes, whatever the case may be. We talked about it could be a deductible that maybe was added this year, or maybe the new plan had a deductible and you weren't aware of it. I discussed situations I ran into where the pharmacy was still billing the old insurance, and the old insurance obviously was denying because the person changed plans. And of course, the old insurance isn't going to pay when they change to the new insurance company. They have to bill the correct current insurance company. Those type of things happen, and they primarily happen this time of the year. The other thing you might run into is, let's say, you change from one company, you change from XYZ insurance company to ABC insurance company, hypothetically speaking. The original company you had, XYZ insurance company, let's say gave you a medication with no problems, but let's say the new insurance company you changed over to, which it would be ABC insurance company in this hypothetical situation. Let's say this new insurance company requires you to get a prior authorization. Well, what's that? A prior authorization is, simply put, the insurance company will not pay for this medication until they get documentation from your doctor or medical professional deeming that it's medically necessary. A lot of times you'll see those nowadays for opioids, the hydrocodons of the world or oxycodone. A lot of people take them and they take them as prescribed from their doctors. They don't abuse them, but a lot of people do abuse them and overtake them. And so a lot of times the insurance companies won't pay for those until you've had that prior approved. That's a very real thing. So that's something that you might have not known, that you have to get your doctor to approve before you can get it filled. And sometimes it can take the doctor a little bit of time to get to that. Doctors are busy, folks. They don't necessarily have the time to just jump on something like that. And, not only that, let's say it takes them 2 or 3 days to send it into the insurance company. The insurance company can take a couple days to process it. So those are barriers that people can run into this time of the year with getting their prescriptions filled. prior authorizations. Maybe you have a plan now that has step therapy for a medication, which is not quite the same thing as prior authorization, but the insurance company has a list of medications that are less expensive, that do similar things to the medication you're taking. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to work the same as the medication you're taking, but they have other alternative medications they want you to try first before they pay for that medication. Now, from my experience, most people that are on the more expensive medication have tried the cheaper ones first. Usually doctors just don't go right up to the most extreme medication. They normally work their way into it. They try this, they try that, and then they find one that works. But that can be a hurdle that needs to be overcome. There's a lot of different possibilities to why you might have trouble getting your medication filled. And these all come this time of the year because Medicare plans, folks, are on a calendar year schedule. Meaning that if there is a deductible, you're going to run into it at the beginning of the year, most likely. If there is prior authorization or step therapy on your new plan, obviously you're going to run into that at the beginning of the year because your old plan didn't have it, but your new plan starts when? The first of the year, when you change during the annual election period, which is AEP. Goes from October 15th through December 7th. So you got to watch out for these things. You got to keep them in mind. If your plan added a deductible and you weren't aware of it, you're going to find out the first of the year because that's when the deductible will take effect. These things matter, folks. They're very, very important. You need to be aware of them, and you need to consider them as options and possibilities if you've had trouble getting your prescriptions filled this year. Stay with me into segment 3 where we will wrap this up, but I also have some more things I want to talk about. Stay with me. Hello, everybody. Thank you for staying put. And if you've listened this far, I really appreciate your support and listening all the way through the end. This is the Everything Medicare Podcast, and today we've talked a lot about medications. Those are, to be honest with you folks, there's things that can go wrong with all kinds of things and different issues, but I'd say 9 out of 10 problems that I see with people starting new plans or the plans changing starting the first of the year have to do with medications. I'd say 9 times out of 10. Now, some other issues that you might run into, let's say you have a plan that you just started. It's a brand new plan. You changed from your old plan over this new one. Let's say this new plan makes you get a referral from your primary care physician to see a specialist. In the Medicare world, in the insurance industry, they call that a gatekeeper doctor. Well, let's say that's something that you have that maybe you weren't aware of. When you signed up for the plan, there's a specialist you see weekly, but now you have to get a referral before you can see him. That's a barrier. But I don't see that happen quite as much as I do the medication problems. So I wanted you to really be aware of those. I think that's something that everybody needs to hear, everybody needs to be aware of on Medicare. Because I probably got more calls than you can imagine from my own customers and clients this month so far, and they've been one of the situations that I've described over and over again. And you might think it's a needle in the haystack with the pharmacy bill in the old insurance company example, but you'd be surprised. It happens a lot more than you'd think it would. Folks, I just wanted to take a minute and say thank you for listening. If you've been a listener since the beginning, we're coming up on a year anniversary of the Everything Medicare Podcast. And if you've been listening since the beginning, I just wanted to tell you I really, really appreciate you. I appreciate your support, your loyalty, and you're the reason why we're able to do this. If you folks would like me to do a podcast twice a week, I'm willing and I'm open to doing it if I hear enough requests for it. If I hear from you, the listeners, that you would like to have a podcast twice a week, I will make it happen in 2019, but not unless I hear it from you guys. If you'd like to let us know if that's something that you'd be interested in hearing, find us on your favorite social media. That's one way you can get in touch with us. On Facebook, Christian Brindle Insurance Services. That is my company. On Instagram, if you're on Instagram, Christian Brindle Insurance. If you're on Twitter, Christian Brindle without the E. If you're on LinkedIn, Christian Brindle. If you're on YouTube and you'd like to check out some of our educational Medicare videos, Christian Brindle. If you're on, I think that's all of them. I think I actually listed them all off. Any of your favorite social medias, send us a message. Let us know you'd like to have more than one episode a week, and we will do it if I get enough people that make the request. Folks, and also follow us on your favorite social media. If you're not on social media at all, but you're listening to this, I'd be surprised, because typically people that aren't on social media don't listen to podcasts. But if you're not on any social media and you'd like to send us an email and to let us know, do so at Christian, CHRISTIAN, B at xmission.com, XMISSION.com, Christian B at xmission.com. That's another way you can get in touch with us. Folks, if you enjoy the content that we give and provide to you every single week, but you'd like to learn even more, if you'd like to be able to make informed decisions on your Medicare plan, if you'd like to maybe even reevaluate what you have and make sure it's the best thing for you, but maybe necessarily you don't trust any agents for some reason, maybe you're not sure if your agent's doing the right thing for you, but you don't necessarily want to talk to another agent, you want to, do some studying. If you've ever tried to look on the internet, you've known that finding this information on your own is very difficult. Most of the stuff you find on the internet is mainly just advertisements, but I have developed a way to help you. If you haven't already, pick up a copy of my book, Medicare Guidance, Picking the Plan for You. It's a $5.50 book right now on Amazon.com, and it is literally the easiest read. I break it down to where if you read that book, you will know more about Medicare than 95% of everybody that you know that's on Medicare. And you might even know more than your agent, potentially. It's worth it, folks. In my opinion, I think it's a no-brainer. It's a $5 book, probably $10 total if you include shipping and handling and taxes. However, for a measly $10, you could potentially save yourself thousands of dollars in premiums, in medical costs that you might have to pay out of pocket, in prescription costs. It's worth it, folks. Insurance is an investment in you. You're investing in protecting the biggest asset that you have, and that is you. And you need to be educated on how best to do that, folks. Pick up that book. Head over to Amazon right now and search Medicare Guidance, Picking the Plan for You by me, Christian Brindle. It's worth every penny, folks, in my opinion. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you're having a great start to the new year. I hope this podcast finds you doing well. And I can't wait to talk to you folks again next week. Thank you so much. Goodbye.